Greetings, 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 and greetings. You are watching Black Thought on the M1 Network, and I'm glad to be before you in this way. This is Dr. Hutchinson. I know you haven't seen me in a while, but it's time and timely for me to have this conversation with you. And don't let the casual clothes fool you. We have some serious conversation to have with you. It's going to be brief, but I hope it will be impactful. By the time you see this, it will be right before the October 3rd municipal elections here in the city of Memphis. I did some cursory reading right before we came online. Up until Thursday of last week, the turnout looked pitiful. But because of a push by several, now the people that have gone out to vote have pushed the totals in par. Matter of fact, I think I read somewhere 361 voters above what we had in 2017, which is good, but it's not good enough. Read in one of our papers, I can't remember if it was the Memphis Flyer or the Daily Memphis, that 2/3 of the early voters were over 50 years old. That says several things. That says that maybe because of the city council races, those persons are able to get out their vote. Maybe because of the mayoral candidates, those persons are able to get out their vote. I want to say that Get Out the Vote 901 had something to do with it, but unless I haven't been paying attention, their persons tend to skew younger. So maybe they made a dent in this. But whoever made the dent, it seems like we are able to get more people out to vote. Now I forgot to do my quick housekeeping. If you want to know more about me, feel free to go to noelhutchinson.com, noelhutchinson.com, and check me out. If you're watching me for the first time and trying to figure out who I am, that will help you and aid you in this discussion. All right, let's go back to this. A couple of things I want to say, and then I'm through, or maybe three things. First thing is, voting is extremely important. And I know I have gray hair on my face, and I know that some of you don't want to hear this, but there are those that recognize the importance of voting, recognize that it was part of an overall mechanism to empower people. Not the only one, but it's one of the major ones. And so people did shed blood and perish in order to make a difference, in order for people to be able to vote. Yes, there are those who don't want to hear that. Yes, there are those who say, well, that's not entirely accurate. But when you look at the fact that how perilous it was to register voters back in the 50s and the 60s, and how many activists shed their lives not only for this, but for other things that gave us right and access to those things that we already should have had, yes, you can put it together with this. Bottom line is, it's a right that we were not always able to use. It was a right that people had to fight for us to get. And now we so easily squander this right, and we don't use this right, and then we complain when we get politicians and others in office who do not do the will of the people. Well, part of that is to get the right persons in office, and part of getting the right persons in office is going out to vote. Can't avoid it, can't miss it. Let me put it to you this way. Look at these positions and how much they pay. You will not earn a great living being a school board member, being a city council member, being on the county commission. These are not positions you take on to make money. And then you have to invest a lot of money just to get the position. Look at the mayor's race, for example. I don't remember how much Strickland makes, but I don't think it's over $250,000. Yet he has $1 million in his quote-unquote war chest to spend on this election, and he's probably spent about $300,000 of it already. All to secure a job that probably doesn't even pay. I think the last time I checked, it was right below $200,000. So ask yourself the question, why? Why do all of these PACs and special interest groups put all of this money into elections? Why there's so many ballots to tell you how to vote, and with a lot of the ballots, you have to pay money to get on the ballot? Why? Because it's important, and because there's power behind these positions. And when you allow other people access to the power that you ought to have, then you do not act in your best interest. So you have to vote. And I think, and please don't think I'm picking on you millennials and Generation Xers, but I think it's a shame when you let the old folk, some of whom have to be taken to the polls from the nursing home, when you let them outvote you. That's a shame. Should not happen. You have mobility. You have the choice of early voting. You don't have to wait on the little bitty bus to get you from the nursing home to the poll. But yet y'all won't vote. Well, we don't like this. We don't like that. This is not fair. Guess what? Life ain't fair. It's time to begin to operate in your own self-interest. And that's one of the reasons why I applaud Up the Vote 901 in the People's Convention, because it was an attempt from those who are younger to help to push the envelope in order to get more people out to vote. So we want to encourage that. We want to encourage you to vote. Because you see, there's one thing that you miss when you don't vote, when you let those 50 and over. And yes, I'm 50 and over. Yes, I vote in every election. But when you leave it up to me, or leave it up to those that are my age group and older, what you might start getting is people voting on name recognition. When you get older, let's just put it where it is. Your cognitive abilities, because you're starting to slow down, body's starting to slow down, aren't always what they were. You're not always able to keep up with the latest. And so you basically going to vote for people you know. That's why those who are better financed can get their message across. And then these older voters may get to know them. But the unfortunate thing is, if they get a ballot and see somebody they know right at the poll, 9 times out of 10, some of them take the ballots in with them and vote the ballot. That's why the ballots work. Now, young folk, get more active in the process, and we have several who are active in the process, and I would dare say we're going to have a couple of millennials and Generation Xers that are going to be a part of the city council, and I think that's an excellent thing. But the voting electorate has to more mirror the demographics of the city. And the demographics in terms of age skew younger, but yet you leave it to me and those older than me to dictate who is going to take those offices because you don't vote. Now, if you didn't vote in early voting, you still have a chance to vote on Thursday, Lord have mercy, Thursday, October the 3rd. You have a chance to vote. So go ahead and vote in your interest. So the first thing, you have to vote. Second thing is, and I kind of bounded into the first thing, millennials and Generation Xers. I hear the complaints that old folk won't move out the way, they won't let us, they won't give us. Let me bring this to your attention. When Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. perished, he was 39 years old. Now granted, when he started, in his context in Montgomery, Alabama. The elders laid hands on him basically because he was new to the city. He wasn't considered a political threat by those who might view what the movement was getting ready to do. Plus, he had preacher connections through his dad, so people probably figured he was a known quantity. So they anointed him to be their leader. But understand that along with him, there were several other persons in his generation that did not get the laying on of hands, that did not come on because of the blessings of the elders, but all of these persons in their 20s and 30s became active. Some of them were in their teens. They became active on college campuses. You know, John Lewis, Diane Nash. You have a host of them from American Baptist College. These were young people that became active in the movement. Bob Moses, and they carried the movement. What am I trying to say to you? Keep waiting on Big Mama to die so you can have some room to work. No, you need to start working right now. But here's the caveat that I would share with you. When you work, don't be exclusive. One lesson you can learn from the past is these movements were inclusive enough that they could be embraced eventually by the nation. Even though you didn't have a large number of people actually doing the work, they were able to sway the mindset of America because they understood they couldn't just target their message to a few. So get active and start to be a change agent. And don't wait for permission. Some have heeded this call, but more need to heed it. And I would say to those who have heeded it, you need to be more inclusive. Your message needs to be less narrow. Everybody is not as progressively minded as you, and so in order to capture them and sway them to your way of thinking, you have to give people entree in order to understand where you're coming from. You can't be exclusive. You can't brag and say we're the ones that push the envelope. No, you push the envelope so that you can bring others along. And I think a lot of people don't get that. So millennials, you are both the future and you are the now. And you're letting the now slip away. The ball's in your court. 10 years from now, I'm going to be on a beach somewhere sipping virgin pina coladas. I hope you heard what I said. And it's going to be up to you to be carrying some of this ball. I won't be in your way. I'm not in your way now. I want to help you to get the way you need to be in terms of this. And I've helped several. And they'll tell you that. So I'm not your problem. But a lot of your problem is you. It's time for you to step up and take your place. So we talked about the need to vote. We talked about the need for the millennials, etc., to be in the process. But we also need to finally talk about planning. The be-all and end-all is not this election on October the 3rd. But what's interesting is we do not plan for the political. We just let it happen. We just bang pots and pans behind our candidate and think that's enough. But no, candidates need money. And there's some candidates watching right now that are waving flags and saying amen. Candidates need endorsements. Candidates need support. They need people that are going to use foot leather, shoe leather to help their campaigns. That's what candidates need. Candidates need a platform that comes from the people. And then candidates need, when they move from candidates to being elected officials, accountability. How does all that happen? Glad you asked me that question. a lot of these candidates have been endorsed by PACs, political action committees. And that seems like a daunting task. Seems like it can't be done. Let me say it in plain language. Seems like rich white folk do this. I know that's what y'all are hearing in your head. That's for rich white folk. We can't do no PACs. Yes, I spoke in Ebonics. Yes, you can do a PAC. I think it's a 501c4. I don't know the exact designation. You can look it up. You Google everything else. You Google what Cardi B is doing. You Google what this rapper is doing that's diamond on everybody. Can't remember his name. Something 6ix9ine. Y'all know who that is. So you can Google this. Check this out. When you start to look at a PAC, you understand that if you organize some persons around a common cause, you can do a PAC, you can raise money, and then you can interview candidates, and when the candidate meets with your approval, then you can support that candidate with some money. Let me say this to you. Every neighborhood, since this is Black Thought, let me put it even deeper. Every black neighborhood in this city ought to have at least one PAC. Everyone. Especially so when these candidates run in these city council and these county commission races, you can do two things. First of all, you can interview them, see where they're coming from. You can also then, when you see where they're coming from, support them with some money. And then finally, after you support them with the money, you can hold them accountable. And check it out. Other people do this. They use their money to make these candidates do what they want them to do. So my question is, why can't you do that? We don't have a lot of money. Check this out. You have enough money. You can get 20 of y'all together, and instead of eating some fast food somewhere, or instead of wasting some money on a pair of shoes or on a suit, if you get 20 of y'all together and raise about $1,000 to $2,000, you can give some of that money to a candidate. And that, do you know what $1,000 would do for a candidate that's running in a city council race? That'll enable them to buy signs for one cycle. That will enable them to hire poll workers for a day. And better yet, that will give you political access. So if they try to ignore you, you can put some fire under them. You know, let me put it to you plainly. People understand money. If they don't understand anything else, they might understand people protesting and all of that. That might make them a little nervous, but money will make them more nervous. So let me repeat myself in case you missed it. Every black neighborhood in this city ought to have a PAC. And you have to have people that work, and you have to have at least half of the folk in the room have to have a political understanding. You have that all over the city. You ought to have a PAC. And then you ought to be able to raise money. Check this out. If you can fry that fish for your church, if you can come up with a chicken dinner fashion show for your church, surely you can raise some money. And then you don't even have to raise as much money as you raise for Men's Day or Women's Day at your church. You know, they have those goals, $20,000, $30,000 they're trying to raise, and then the whole church struggles to meet it. You can say $10,000, have a PAC, meet it. Then when candidates come through you don't have to give them all that pot of money, but you can give them half of the money and get some leverage into your future. So I'm giving y'all a playbook right now. Now the PAC piece, you can't do it for October the 3rd. It's too late for that. But we have presidential elections coming up. We have county elections coming up. We have congressional races coming up. And the city races will come back around. And in 4 years, the mayoral elections will be upon us again. And whether Strickland gets back in or Harrington or Sawyer get in, you're going to have another mayoral election. Yes, and don't want to be disrespectful, and or the Michael Wilson. He's more of a long shot, but surprises do happen. So vote. Millennials and Gen Xers, get to it. And have a plan. And I gave you one of the pieces of the plan. All right? Handle your business. Time for me to go. And as I go, brother, man, sister, woman, young boy, young girl, put your mind in gear. Put your thinking cap on. Peace.
Hi, I'm Deidre Malone, the host of Dialogue with Deidre. You can find us on the M1 TV network on YouTube. Subscribe and follow us. You can also find us on Facebook at M1 TV Network, Twitter, M1 TV Network 2, and Instagram, M1 TV Network 2. Please follow us so you can keep up to date with what's going on the M1 TV Network with Dialogue with Deidre and Black Thought.